What's up, everybody? It's Chad. We're back again with another episode of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. Thank y'all for joining me. Again, we are streaming on Twitch. We're figuring that out, and once we get it where we exactly want it, I'm gonna start, putting it out there every week that will be live on Twitch. But if you know right now, you know, and you're getting the episode a day early. Today, my guest is going to be Nicole and Michelle. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me today.
Absolutely, Chad. Really glad to be here.
Awesome.
To be here. Yeah.
Awesome, man. And thank you so much. And you got your little avocado there and everything.
Support avocado, you know.
Yeah, I got the support.
Always. Meet the homies.
So that's cool. And so these two ladies, they've been in the industry for a while now. I've actually known Michelle for probably closer to 10 years now going on.
Yeah.
And so him and her late prior partner, him and I did a lot of advocacy work here in Las Cruces and stuff. So she's been around me for a long time, and I've been seeing her grow and everything. So we're gonna get a good update for what's going on with her, and of course, Nicole too as well. She's been in the industry for quite a while. But I won't speak for them. I will let the ladies introduce themselves. Go ahead, Nicole. Introduce yourself.
Hi guys. My name is Nicole Self. I'm a manager here at Yucca Point Dispensary in Las Cruces. And yeah, I've been a part of the medical program, I want to say since 2014 was when I got my first card, back when they were still solid.
Yeah. Year after me. So you've been around the same time. So yeah, back when we had a physical card.
Yeah.
I still have all my physical cards. I saved them.
Me too. They're like, kind of like Pokemon cards.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, how old are you?
I've actually seen like the first ones when they were just like, I want to say it was paper even.
Yeah, I showed up right when they started giving the plastic ones out. They weren't giving you a PPL one yet, though. The PPL one didn't start till the year you came in, because there was no PPL when I first started.
Right.
And then they started the PPL. Or if you guys don't know what a PPL is, it's a personal production license. That was the way that we were allowed to grow in the medical cannabis days before we changed it and everything. So it was a really stupid program, and it was more of a nuisance than anything, and it didn't really solve any problems.
That's how we learned to, run. Got to stumble before that.
Yeah, exactly. And at least we were able to mess up and grow. But at the time, and then after a while, they sent you a card. And for a while, they'll send you 2 cards, and then it was on 1 card, and then they just kept changing it. It was so confusing. Every year, it was something different. Yeah.
Right.
And actually, we're going to talk about the medical cannabis program here a little bit later in the episode. So I really want to get into y'all and what you guys have been up to. So I'll start with Nicole. Like I said, thank you for joining me.
Absolutely.
I know you're so bashful, like, oh my God.
I'm a little nervous. But again, the avocado came for a reason.
Yeah, your emotional support avocado.
Yes,
Yeah, Californians would love you.
I'm from here, though, I promise.
So, how did your cannabis journey start? I guess, let's start there. You're from here and everything, but where did it start? We all have our starting place in the cannabis journey.
So, honestly, full transparency, I tried to commit suicide when I was a teenager.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and that led me to Zoloft, if anybody remembers that wonderful, heavy thing that they were just shilling out to kids.
I remember the commercials. They look like Digimons. Remember Digimons were like little, that's how little characters, like a little baby Digimon. Yeah.
And, ironically, that seemed to just unlock more problems. I actually happened upon, ironically, I didn't know it at the time, but who also is Nicole Fuchs.
Yes.
When I was about 17 years old, she was a friend of a friend, and she kind of taught me about cannabis a bit and showed me about weed a bit. And then I just started smoking a lot and was able to stop Zoloft, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Cannabis was just a medicine to me at that point. Back then, it definitely was not considered a medicine. It was, you had to go to sketchy places to get it, but but no business being there. Luckily, being around here, you've got some hippie friends that, but that was my beginning with it, was a dark start that led to a beautiful future. So I firmly believe that this is a medicine and can change people's lives.
Definitely. I'm glad you're still here. When we were growing up, there was a lot of issues with that going on too.
Yes.
A lot of friends I knew would hurt themselves and stuff too on top of it. And luckily, most of them have had help since then. Some have found relief with cannabis.
Yes.
And some started on the same route as you two as well. So that story is gonna, a lot of people can, get on level with you on that. I can't think of the word right now.
No,
I was just like, holy crap. But yeah, that's something that a lot of people can share with you as well.
Right.
Because that's not something easy to share. So I appreciate you, sharing that with me.
Of course, I try to be an open book any chance I get, especially about cannabis. if you can make somebody's life better, why wouldn't you want to try?
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And Michelle, you know, like, let's go to you. I know, she's ready.
You need avocado?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, like, I've already given you a little bit of intro, but go ahead, please, you know, introduce yourself. And
Well, my name is Michelle Bailey. I've been a medical patient for about 10 years now. I have worked in the industry since the beginning of recreational. I've managed a few dispensaries. Now I'm working as a bud tender at Yucca Point. Try to, you know, stay with the entities that I believe in. So, and yeah, and I'm really trying to get more involved in the medical advocacy because I'm watching it fall off. So
yeah.
That's why I'm here.
Definitely, and I'm glad that you are here. And yeah, like I said, we'll talk about that because I've mentioned it several times on the show, you know, where we've been. And I've had predictions, you know, early on, you know, in the legalization days, where we're going to be in a time like right now. And it's kind of coming true, and it's unfortunate. But yeah, we'll talk more on that. But thank you for the intro and everything. And so you're at Yucca Point. So where were you at before that? You know, where were the prior places you worked?
So my start in cannabis was with Nubez Dispensary in Sunland Park. I helped open that place with the owners. Myself, my late partner, and our friends opened it together. We ended up, you know, business is strange when you get into business with your friends. So we both ended up leaving that dispensary, and then I started managing Pecos Valley Production, first the Roadrunner location here in Las Cruces, and then later both the Roadrunner and Las Cruces locations. I did that for about 2 years, and now I work with Yucca Point, and I really enjoy the smaller mom and pop entity about it. I've never been a corporate, you know, person. I tried being a corporate baddie, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It definitely takes a particular kind of person to be in the corporate kind of, you know, world, and it's not for everybody. And to be honest, not every business is built to go corporate either. You know, like certain ones are kind of meant to stay smaller or not have that model at all.
Right.
You know, because I've been learning more about the corporate model, and sometimes I'm like, man, it's like these are just planned scams. Like they're just using, you know, shell companies and, you know, tax this deduction to do this. And then, you know, in cannabis, we're not like federally legal. So a lot of the stuff that those, you know, big, you know, companies do in other industries doesn't work. You know, and it has to be done differently here.
The loopholes just don't exist all the way. Like it is kind of, I mean, granted, I know we're here to talk about the medical program, but I will have it noted that a lot of people forget that cannabis being what it is, it cannot be taxed. Like you don't get the same tax write-offs that any other small business would, that can really make the difference.
Yeah.
So like those small mom and pops that you're seeing, keep in mind, like the small mom and pop grows, like they're backing it by their money and you know what they're standing by. So it takes that little bit of extra effort to keep it going in that sense.
Yeah, you know, and 280E is a, you know, motherfucker. You know, and it's, you know, industry wide, and, you know, the retails in New Mexico, unfortunately, are the ones that, you know, are forced to foot that burden. You know, and it's in other states, you know, it's different, but in New Mexico, you know, that's a good and bad thing. It's good if you're not a retailer, but terrible if you are the retailer, because you're the only ones that have to do that. All of us aren't allowed to do cannabis, you know, tax stuff, but you guys are really screwed out because paying the 280E on top of it, that's like 30, 40, you know, +% of your just revenue just gone.
Easily.
And, you know, there's people that, you know, argue with me that, you know, that majority of people don't pay it, blah, blah, blah. But those are people from other states.
Right.
I'm like, this is New Mexico, and it's a little bit different here.
Yeah.
You know, they know that the retails are the only ones, and so they can go after it. And I think they are getting a little bit more strict on people who aren't paying their taxes too, when it comes to licensing.
Right.
Definitely are.
And so, they're trying to make sure that Uncle Sam, be it state or federal, gets their piece. And, that's the shitty part.
Yeah. It's ironic because I'm always telling our customers one of the things I'm like, remember, medical cannabis is great because you don't get to pay taxes. And what a better way to say F you to the government than buying medical weed and not paying any tax on it.
Yeah. Like so many of you are like, fuck taxes, fuck the government. I'm like, okay, well, get your weed card and, be about it.
Absolutely. I'm like, come on, let's stand up the right way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I haven't paid taxes on my cannabis in who knows how long.
Yeah, and I love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when we were medical, we did pay taxes up until rec started, and there was lawsuits and everything that finally finalized it, and then they did change the law, but they were still taxing it. So luckily, past about 4 or 5 years, we haven't, paid tax. 4 years, we haven't paid taxes on it. It's been so nice, and it's great for the lower income patients because a lot of people had, and at the time it was kind of true. Our medical program, there was a lot of people that didn't need the card; they just used the card for legal protections, and I can't blame them.
Yeah, by all means.
By all means,
right.
I can't blame you. There was no other way. But the ones that actually needed it, they're the ones kind of getting punished, with, certain changes and everything because of stuff like that. But it is what it is. There's nothing we could really do about it other than fight and let them know that people actually do need to, really use this. And I don't get, where people are, not wanting to join, but I guess we'll keep that conversation for a little bit later. I still want everyone to get to know you guys first before we go. I know you guys are so passionate. You're ready. But and I saw you both like, are we done? I was like, no, we're gonna wait. I want to talk to you guys a little bit longer.
It just means so much to us. Like I know Michelle and I, like at the end of the day, like as patients ourselves, but literally as people who have witnessed it and been part of it, like I know medical marijuana is a thing.
Yeah.
And I get that there are people just going into dispensaries to get high. Like, cool, brother. Like, I'd rather you do that than go get a drink.
Yeah.
So to each their own. But I firmly believe that you can change your life on a cannabis ideal. Like, maybe it's a hippie in me, but it's for sure a thought, and it changed mine.
Yeah, I mean, it saved my life, and it saved many other veterans' lives that I know. And there's some that could have used it. And it would have helped them,
right.
Versus the route that it ended up for them, unfortunately.
Exactly.
So no, like I'm 100% with it too. So let's talk a little bit about the medical days, but about yourself, and then we'll eventually get into it. So when you were a patient in the early days, what are some things that you can share with people that is different now?
Well, you don't have to wait like a super long line.
Yeah.
You don't have to literally limit it. Each dispensary I won't name names because either way they're not here anymore. But you just felt so scrutinized, and you just went in there and you were like, "I'm Lester. Can I please have some weed, please?" It just felt so awkward, and if you didn't know your stuff, you just felt. I don't know. I myself just felt so out of place and not welcomed or comfortable. It was very much just you don't look like there's anything wrong with you. And I'm all, oh, thanks.
Yeah. Welcome to my life too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm like, if you only knew. But, here
were you in Iraq too?
Yeah. I'm like, tell me you've lived my life. Tell me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, you were there. Okay.
Exactly. But that was just the things that have changed. It's just the environment that we've been able to have for it, the amount of information we have for it now too. It felt like a little click, basically, and now I'm able to welcome patients into my dispensary with open arms.
And there's more availability for people to work in different places. We're not so limited to, because here in Cruces we had I think at the most 5 or 8.
Yeah, I was gonna say 6 at the biggest.
Maybe 8 at the most. I think right before legalization, but that's probably being very generous. There really wasn't many choices, and especially places to work. I never worked for any of those places because I didn't want to.
I tried. I tried so hard, but again, it was the clickiness of it.
And some wanted me, and I was just like, no, I can't. Just.
Of course, Chad's like, well, they were coming for me. Understood. Again, I see the tears.
She got jokes today.
Sorry.
No, you're good. That was a good one. But that's great that that some things have changed for the positive and everything, and you're able to work in the industry, and things are a little more I guess, laid back, lax when it comes to it.
It's how it should be. Like
Yeah.
I grew up watching that 70s show, and like the concept of walking into that living room or that basement and just being like handed, like same kind of thought, like R.I.P. soul, but like that was kind of the vibe there for 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel like a dispensary should feel. I went out to California. I went into one of the, I want to say it was a Mad Men, and oh my gosh, I was like, I just feel like Walmart with security. It was intense. I was like, this is big, but also I feel slightly nervous.
Yeah.
And so that just wasn't good. So what we have now, it goes back to that thing that I remind kids all the time. I'm like, I remember when you had to pay $60 for a gram and you had little tweezers that you would take apart your nug and make it last, kids. Okay.
Yeah,
like, whatever, old lady, let me get my top shelf $25 eighth. And I'm like, here you go. Dang it.
It's going to cost me $80.
Yeah. $80. And they just smoke it in one joint. I'm like, oh, goodness,
Yeah.
So definite, drastic changes. In that.
Yeah, and I think, reminding ourselves where we came from sometimes is very important. Because, we tend to do that. Like, oh, they don't have this. That sucks. It's like, oh, there was a time where I didn't even have the possibility of that being there.
Do you know what dry means when the city's dry? What do you mean the city's dry?
I like to think about when I would get a bag and it would be a whole corner, a solid corner.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you crush it up and you pull all those flat seeds out of it because, God, headaches.
Don't forget to pull out the trash bag pieces and
So when I think about what we have access to now, I'm like, oh, this is so nice. I feel bougie. I feel like
I feel pretty
connoisseur, right?
Yeah.
Like, because now at this point, I've had the ability to learn all of these things about cannabis that when I was before I joined the medical program, from like when I was like 16, because of course that's where I started in high school, right? It's a completely different world. It's a totally different world. It's totally different. It feels like totally different products. It feels like it feels a lot safer. It feels a lot we have the ability to tailor our experiences a little better and things like that. Before it was just like, I got this corner from the plug and I don't know what it's gonna do to me, but it's gonna make me high.
Yeah. Right?
Smells like gasoline, here we go.
It might make me nervous as hell, but it might also put me to sleep. So let's find out.
Right.
It's like, it's luck of the draw. And shout out to Justin. He's saying what's up right here. And he said sometimes he misses those days. Sometimes I do too. Like there's every now and then. Would I want to go back? No. But would I, reminisce and remember? Yeah.
Right.
Like I don't like smoking the weed that had the seeds and the stems and the surprises in them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
never forget that time you hit the joint and then somebody goes, it's laced with what?
Or having to check that it was laced in the first place.
Yeah. And I'm like, people are like, you're going to have to re-roll that. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like,
we go smoke either way.
Yeah, it's going to be okay.
So speaking of difference, and this question is actually for both of you, what is the major, and I've thought about this before and I've never asked it. And I'm like, why didn't I ever ask that? What is the main difference between working in cannabis retail and regular retail of any other industry? And I'll let Michelle go first. No, you're thinking on that one.
Honestly, at the bare root of it, it's exactly the same. It's still retail. People treat retail people like trash. And I'll just come out and say that. It's a service thing altogether, right? And it's tough. There's always somebody. And so it is basically retail. But I think that the biggest challenges and the biggest differences is it is definitely the regulation. We have to make sure that the packages that are going out of our stores have the correct labels on them. Everything has to be, it feels like working, like the way I describe in my own head working at Yucca Point, it feels like working in a Zoomies that's like a pharmacy. You know what I mean? It's super cool to be in there, right? It's awesome. I love it, right? But it's a vibe.
Better have your
but like, you can't touch the products. You can smell the stuff. You can't touch the things. You can't open the products. You can't use the things. You can't do anything. Like, it's very, like.
Make sure you know the rules.
You can't just. So that's my biggest thing. Is just that there's so much regulation that even down at the bud tender level we have to be aware of, because we're all human and people miss things, and whole companies miss things sometimes, you know, and I've caught that several times, especially towards the startup of recreational was just, there were so many packaging issues on everything. So everybody is kind of responsible for knowing, you know, what needs to be, you know, what is required for the products to be able to be sold.
And those are great points. And Nicole, you know, what about you?
Honestly, the same kind of thought that, you know, at its core, it is retail, and we do kind of get treated a little rough sometimes. I try to remember what I'm like before I smoke, though, and I try to remember that that's what's happening. People are coming in there because they need their medicine. So once they leave, whether it's once they get home, whatever, they will be in a better mood regardless.
Yeah. You're just unfortunate you see them when they're in pain.
Exactly. And exactly. And I would say in my experience, the difference is that since this is something I care so much about, I'm able to really make a difference in somebody's life. I do like to take the time to discuss to the person what they're trying to do. What's your goal when you're coming in here? Are you trying to aches and pains inside, outside, brain, just overall looking for something in general? Or like, what can we do to tailor this experience to best fit you? And when it comes to cannabis, I'm so passionate about it. I have no problem talking about that all day. Though. You put me in a shopping store and I'm going to be like, cool, what do you want? Let's go. Like, come on. But, you know, I love the interactions that I get to have with, I call them my patients, because like I said, I know it helps them and getting to know them. And I've bartended, and I mean, like, I get that people will be under the influence and they'll open up to you, but people will be sober as a goat, walk in and just start, you know, I've had to come around the corner and giving hugs. And, you know, that's part of it, though. That's part of the great part of it, is that it isn't just, it's not just a transaction. It's medicine that you're putting in somebody's hands that can change their entire day, night, week, whatever. And that can have an effect on people's lives. So it's to be taken seriously.
And even something as small as educating them on the difference between, you know, cultivar and strain, or, you know, the soon to be defunct, you know, indica sativa when it comes to the retails. I know you and I both, you know,
that's like my old school pet peeve, right? And hopefully after that we'll get the percentage one, because that would, let me get your 32%er, and I'm like,
oh God.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. By all means, here we go.
Worried about one compound now.
Yeah, I'm all cool. So let me just give you this one thing, because that's what you're getting.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's a great way to put it. I wish we could do that at the store when someone says, I want something with this much THC. Well, let me pull this bud out, and this is all you're getting.
Yeah, right. So I can give you a visual representation of what you're doing to yourself.
Yeah,
that's all that's happening.
Because there's so much more in the plant that does the things to you that you don't realize, and that science is still figuring out.
Oh, I know.
And, you know, we know now that it's not all about THC. Now, THC is a huge component. Don't get me wrong. You know, it's very important in the cannabis plant, but it's not the only thing that has, you know, healing properties or, you know, medicinal properties. You know, you have THCV, you have THCA. You know, the cousin of THC that's non-psychoactive.
Right.
And then you have CBD, CBN, CBG, you know, and all these other crazy compounds that we figure out. And then we're finding out it's not just terpenes that make things smell. You have sulfurs and other things within that too. And, flavonoids and flavonoids. One's just the colors, guys. Don't get too confused.
So many words.
The one that sounds like it would be flavor, though, is the one for colors. And that's it's so confusing. Yeah. So it's so weird. Yeah. Like, wait. The one that sounds like it would taste good is just makes it red.
Yeah. That's all it is.
It's so stupid. You're like, okay. But, you know, science is like that sometimes. But luckily, you know, science is kind of on our side these days. Don't get me wrong. You have the big people that are paying a lot of money to get these studies put out that, you know, cannabis will, you know, make you turn into powder one day or something. You know, or, you know, just turn you into a zombie, whatever they're coming up with these days.
This gets you addicted to the crack cocaine.
You will guarantee to be a hooker.
No correlation.
Yeah, you're just like, does even come from? How does that even have to do with what's
right?
Yeah, you're just like, okay.
Right.
I've even seen people go as far online. It's so funny. They're like, and those marijuana users with their marijuana syringes everywhere, and I'm like,
Oh, oh yeah. We got those at the shop. They're
Marijuana.
like, do I shoot that up? I'm like, that's not so. No.
That's absolutely not.
But that's the importance of educating yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the patient and everyone else, and sometimes, don't get me wrong, the patient doesn't give a fuck sometimes, but it's important to at least try.
And we're so lucky that we have a medical program in this state, meaning that we actually have access to that information.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a plethora of it out there for you to gobble up, but I guess that's the whole reason why we're sitting here, is because nobody's gobbling.
Yeah.
And then there's that.
Yeah, and I ran into that. So, me doing advocacy for so long, I ran into that this whole time.
Yeah.
People not wanting to learn, people not giving a shit, and they only give a shit when it changes and it affects them directly. It's something that I've learned, that it's not just a New Mexican problem. It's just a people problem. We tend to do that as people. And, some people didn't even know that we had a medical cannabis program until like 2015. I was like, bro, we've had one since like 2007.
Yeah, it's been for a while.
Yeah, I was like, you guys are kind of behind.
Right.
And even now today, some people still are under the assumption that we got rid of it, because we went rec.
We went rec. And then people won't renew their cards because we went rec. And
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
No, wait.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we've gone far enough in your guys' background and everything that we can move on to the next. I know you're itching to talk about the medical cannabis and stuff like that. Before we do, can you explain the squishy guy, the avocado?
So this is just my emotional support avocado, because this was my jump into like free will. What's up, Michelle?
He's also the star of our Instagram.
He is also the star of our Instagram. Right? He's our mascot for the shop. He's always trying to do everything that we're trying to get done there, because we are a small mom and pop. So it's just us working the gears. So he helps out to keep things gearing along. So, but yeah, he's my emotional support avocado. I brought him just to support the shop, support us.
100%. What other roles does he have?
He rolls a lot of joints. He recently actually was just hanging out with Snorlax, because we have a Snorlax that's probably my size at the shop. Awesome. Actually, it's probably the exact size of Michelle. Little.
I believe it.
I never get to say that, FYI. Yeah. Anyways, but it's like
her feet are dangling right now in the chair.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just kidding.
Then, like an actual Snorlax at the shop, so he's been hanging out with him. And then also we have a giraffe that sits outside, so sometimes he goes and hangs out with Raffy.
Yeah, and I love you guys blow up things for every holiday that you have. You have for Christmas, a Halloween, and I noticed that it was themed for every holiday. I was like, oh, they have one for everyone. That's cool.
Well, eventually we have such a little area right there. When we do blow up and become awesome, we'll eventually have a little spot over there for people to come and hang out and take pictures, and because it's right next to downtown, so it's just a beautiful area. A great part of Cruces. Tommy's roller rink is right there too. So.
Starbucks is right there for the Starbucks lovers.
Hey, we love that.
I'm sure y'all go there. They must know y'all by name.
They do. They know our orders and everything, but it's all right.
I'm sure they hit you up after work sometimes too.
They definitely do.
Yeah.
I actually joke about when people come in, they're like, oh, I haven't seen you guys before. I'm like, we're kind of like the bar that all the bartenders go to, like it's a you know thing. So we're trying to break away from that. I'm like, if you guys could just quit gatekeeping us, that would be great.
It's like, it'd be awesome.
I'm so glad for your patronage, but if you could spread the love.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well, before we move on to the next topic, is there anything you both want to say or mention before we do?
You should mention this.
Oh, yes. There we go.
Yes, perfect. For 420 being, the holiday of the season for us, we're doing a 420 Pause for the Cause. And this is us just taking in some donations. Sorry, Chad.
Oh, you put it up a little closer. We got a couple cameras.
There you go. So we're partnering with the Las Cruces Action Programs for Animals, the APA, and we're taking in donations of any used, lightly used animal things, whether they be toys, blankets, towels, anything that you would think that the animals might need, we are willing to take it. Kennels, that cat food that your cat was like, no, I don't want it. We'll take the unopened cans that you guys didn't get to finish off. So just anything like that from the 1st all the way to the 20th, and then we're going to be taking stuff over there.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we love our four-legged friends. They are also a medicine that people try to overlook. So
And sometimes they're patients themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I've seen many people use, CBD products or, hemp and cannabis products for their pets, and sometimes it's helped them.
Yes.
And it's helped more than anything else that they could do. So, sometimes, the pets can use it just as much. And we have a stray cat issue in Cruces. My neighbor has a cat sanctuary. And so there's cats all over the place, but, she's at least trying to find them a home. And I don't try to get too bad. One shit on the sidewalk the other day, and I got a little frustrated, but
I will say, take this random awesome moment to just say, please don't feed your animals THC products. If you would like to have your animals be part of medicating with you, CBD is the way to go.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of different dispensaries and even just local stores have stuff for animals now that's CBD. So just a little side warning, please don't feed your dog your edibles with you. He'll make it, but it probably won't be the best time for him.
And you have some stuff to clean up.
Yeah, they tend to just get really, really sick. So if your animal does ingest cannabis on accident, don't worry, but it's just messy and they sleep a lot.
And they'll be a little goofy for a little bit.
That's
very melty. I've noticed they tend to do this like very slow melting into the ground.
Or the wobble.
Poor thing. Yeah. Unfortunately, a couple of my dogs have got into it, and
all the time.
I've seen it before.
It happens.
It happens, man.
But it's never a pleasant experience.
I had a buddy. We were making edibles one time. This is when I lived in Alamogordo. He had for some reason, we were making butter. And so he had the trash, whatever, on the counter in the kitchen. I don't know why he didn't throw it away. His dog got on the counter, grabbed it, ate it. He was high for like 5 days.
Oh my God.
So, like, that poor dog, man, it was just like, oh no.
Yeah, and at that point you're like, there might be some severe long-term.
Yeah, it's like, at least you had some good time. Poor guy.
Chillest dog ever.
Yeah, forever.
Now, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so don't do that. If you're gonna make edibles and stuff, make sure you throw that stuff away. Especially if you have a dog that can get onto the counter. Luckily, mine don't. But if you do have one, make sure you throw everything away because they will get into it. And sometimes they give no shits. So, well, thank you, ladies, so much for sharing that, and let's move on to the next topic, which I'm sure we've all been excited to talk about. Let's talk about the medical cannabis program. And before we get into the nitty gritty, I want to update you all where we at right now and where we were and where we started. So in 2021, when we legalized cannabis, so this is before adult use or adult sales started, we had about 120 or so patients, 120,000, patients in New Mexico. By 2022, I think it went up to like 140 or something like that, maybe 160. Correct me if I'm wrong. And after 2022, when adult sales started, just right away, you just saw the patient numbers just start to go. So it hit its most all-time peak. A couple months after legalization, it just started to do a nosedive. And we went from that to now, I believe we're at, 63,778
we need more.
Is what we are. And last month, we were at 64. I noticed last year, because I look at the numbers, I'm a nerd. Last year, the numbers were dropping very quickly. And then around, I think October, they slowed down, almost to like a couple hundred a month to a couple thousand a month. And so now we are where we are. We should be at the rate where we were last year, probably in the 40s or 30,000s.
Right.
But it's slowed down so much to where I think we're going to comfortably be about at probably 50,000 patients once, everything settles down, which isn't good.
That's not a lot.
No, it's not good. That means there's a lot of people going around paying the taxes, not talking to a doctor about it, not doing their due diligence. Because guys, cannabis isn't a heal-all or a cure-all. It's a tool that goes in your toolbox and you pull it out when you need it. It's not going to be something that is going to, fix every single issue that you have in your life. You still have to do the due diligence and you have to do the work. Talk to the therapist, talk to somebody, go to the doctor, figure out what is going on with your body. You have to figure those things out too on top of it, or else cannabis is just going to be something that you're doing versus something that you're doing to heal yourself. And then with that being said, ladies, what do you have to say about that so far?
I completely agree with that. Some people might think it's a little silly to do it, but even just logging what types of strains work for you, it's super hard nowadays because the strains, the genetics get so mixed up. Mm-hmm. But if you're just a new timer or you're just trying to figure out what works for you best, just kind of trying to log the effects, knowing what effects you're going for, speaking with your bud tender, just opening your mouth and not being scared to ask about what you're looking for from the experience when you're going in.
Yeah, and that's a great, great point, because some people, and I know these people, they'll go in, I just want the cheapest, whatever this, and then, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
There's so much more to cannabis than that nowadays. Like those are the people that are used to, go on the plug. This is what you get. Go home, and smoke your weed. But not everybody's like that. Not every patient is like that. So Michelle, what is your thing on the medical program right now?
My thing about the medical program right now is just how absolutely, my major beef with the medical program right now is how absolutely uneducated even the current patients are with what the medical program even means, or what they have the ability to do with that, or just how it works. I can't tell you how many times people ask me, well, what is a unit? How much weed is that?
Or what do I get with that?
Or what do I get with it? Or like people being confused about the fact that medical patients don't pay the tax because there are so many dispensaries that roll the tax in and then call it a medical discount when they take the tax back out. So that can be very confusing.
I hate going to those places. I'm like, I'm already giving you a discount. Like, no, you're not supposed to charge me tax to start out with. Like, you're not doing this out of the kindness of your heart.
Right.
You're doing what's legally required. This is like the bare minimum.
Right.
is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And people also, like, they don't understand how purchasing under the medical program works as opposed to recreational, i.e. edibles is the main one, right? Because that's the main one with the different rules. The ones that everybody notices, because you can't buy a recreational customer person can't buy, but they can't buy like 1,000 milligram edible because that's a medical only item. And there are other things that fall under edibles. Like, how many people knew that tinctures topicals fall under edibles?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Most people don't know that, so they get really confused as to why they can't buy 1,000 milligram topical because who's going to eat that? Nobody's eating that. I am not interested in eating an arnica salve.
Unless you eat
very
lotion.
much.
Lotion on the regular,
That's a pricey one.
But that is 100% the case. But if you have a medical card, you can buy that. No problem. No questions asked. And a lot of people don't even realize that until they've got their medical card and then they lose their medical card, and then they want to know why they can't buy the thing that they've always bought. Well, because it's only a medical product.
Yeah.
Furthermore, how many med patients know that you can claim your medical your medical cannabis purchases on your state taxes as medical expenses? Nobody knows that. I do it every year. I don't know, and my state tax return is always pretty good, right? Like, but I spend thousands of dollars on medical cannabis every year, and I have to spend that. It's not a matter of, will my insurance cover it? No, it doesn't. And New Mexico gives a tax break to you if you pay medical expenses out of your pocket. And medical cannabis 100% is that. And I can't tell you, I don't think I've ever mentioned that to a medical patient who already knew that.
Yeah.
So I think a big part of it is the, aside from the fact that people just don't know what it all entails, I think a big part of it is the people who are giving cards or registering for cards, things like that, providers, either don't know or are not explaining the programs.
Yeah.
I had a lady straight up say that she never tells the patients what the units are. She's like, I don't explain that part. I'm all, that's the part they need to know.
It's so important.
I was like, that's what they're going to need to know when they go into the dispensaries.
Yeah, like you have to know if you guys don't know, if you're not from New Mexico, you never been a patient here, you have an allotted amount of units. And to be honest, that's something I've fought against for years. I don't think patients have allotted units.
Yeah.
But you get 450 units, which is equivalent to a gram a unit. However, when you step into the extract world or the edible world and the topical world, it becomes a mathematical equation.
Yeah.
And a unit, so you can get a gram, we'll give you an example. You can get a gram of rosin, but that won't be 1 unit because that gram of rosin doesn't equate to a 1 unit of flour in the same sense. So essentially what it is say, let's say it's 70% THC, the product you bought. I think that goes to what, 700 milligrams is what it does. And then that breaks down to what it would be in a flower. And so it goes down to the mathematical, and it's confusing. Don't get me wrong. It is but patients need to at least understand that there is going to be a difference when you buy flower to edibles and extracts. And I think that's where the big hang up is patients just don't understand that. And to be honest, when I was a patient early on, I didn't either. And I don't think the state did either, because they tried to explain it to us back then and they failed.
Right.
Obviously. So, it is still confusing, and I hope one day that changes, but that is so important. And I wish providers would explain that, because, my provider obviously doesn't, because I know it already, but I really wish that they would do that more, and do their due diligence, because I do think some of them are just, yeah, give me the money or whatever, blah, 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 here's your card, seal it.
Yeah.
When others, are really doing their due diligence. Like my provider, luckily, she does her due diligence and all the good stuff, asks me all the good questions, and, make sure that, it's still working for me and stuff, like she should.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we don't have that with everyone. And, then the patients go out and they're unfortunately ignorant, to not their own fault, really, in that sense. But it's up to us to kind of pick up that burden in the end. And, it's like, great, now we have another job we got to pick up that someone didn't do. And so now we're educating, patients on what a unit is, when that's the most basic simple
part
thing.
Of the medical program.
Like one of the first things that you should know as a patient, what a unit is. You should at least know the term unit. In your mind, is it a unit is something confusing? Cool, you at least know what it is.
Yeah. She got it down on that level.
Yeah, it's something confusing to use. So, I can't get an edible because of this or whatever. And like, cool, you at least understand that part.
Right.
So yeah, if you're a new patient out there, if you're thinking about getting your card, there are a few things you're going to have to learn and know, and that is the biggest one, because if you run out of units, you pay the taxes. You are no longer paying or getting the medical cannabis perks of not paying taxes. You have to pay the taxes. And they're rolling 90 days too on top of that. Here's a second thing too that I've noticed too, is people don't understand the rolling 90 days thing. It's confusing, don't get me wrong, but it goes off of when you bought that product. 90 days from when you bought that 1 gram of rosin, that 1 gram or 700 milligrams of THC will be back in your units 90 days from that day of purchase. It doesn't go as a bulk thing and then roll over to like that way. It's whenever you bought that one. So you buy an eighth, 90 days later, that same amount of eighth will be back in your unit. And I think 90 days is way too long.
It's a super long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as a patient, like, especially working in the cannabis industry, like I use mine a lot. Sometimes, I can gift somebody something, but I was like counting my days. I was like, oh, okay, come on. I had 7 units. I remember I was like, I had 7 units.
Oh my God.
I had
That's
7
terrible.
Units.
I'm like, let me gift you something.
Yeah. I was like, thank goodness. Yeah, no. And it's crazy. I've had people get upset. And again, this is not something we have control over. I've had patients get upset with me because they were like, what do you mean? I'm like, you can still purchase. I just can't take away the tax. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, fool. I don't know.
And it's not fair because, there is a limit on how much rec can get, but there really isn't, because it's at a time per transaction.
Correct. Yeah.
And so per transaction, you can go put it in your trunk, come back and buy the same amount again.
Yeah.
Patients can't do that. And, I went back to Hawaii because, I was stationed there. I lived there for years, but I never was a part of their medical cannabis program. So when I went, they have reciprocity. I was like, cool, I get to be a reciprocity patient. This is dope. Now I get to see how it is. And their program is interesting. One thing I really, really liked is they have the same kind of rolling, thing, but theirs is, I believe, every 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they have a 4. I was like, that makes more sense.
That makes way more sense.
That makes way more sense.
Yeah.
It's a month versus the 90 days.
Right.
And I brought this up to the CCD in their last rules hearing, and I proposed that they go with that. And I said, I propose we do 4 weeks and blah, blah, blah. And I said, Hawaii is a state that already does it. Because when you propose rules, and here's a tip for you guys, when you do go to propose a rule, it helps you out if another state is doing it and you mention it by name, section, whatever. And it's exactly what I did. I went and said, Hawaii already does it. It's a 4 week rolling day, a 4 week rolling thing. But they only get 4 ounces. of cannabis, we get significantly more.
Yeah.
And so if they can do, an ounce a week, we can definitely do the 450 units, per month, because there's many patients who today still run out of their units. And back when we were just medical, you could ask for an exception to get more, but that wasn't everybody. Like it was only certain people. That still wasn't much more.
You can ask for more units when you have none, but I'm not really sure the backhand of that. I just know that on the website it definitely does say if you need more, you can ask, and it's based on, I guess, situational. So and I imagine it's not the quickest either way.
And then you have to always go back and ask for more every time you renew. Every year.
That becomes a thing.
It becomes just you're not only just getting your card at that point, you're getting your card, asking for more units, making sure you have enough. Because some people have to use a lot. Cancer patients use a shit ton.
Oh, yeah.
And by all means. Someone like that, they're going to have to use a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think it's fair that we punish the patient to this point where, it's like you only get this many and it's going to take you 90 days to get it back. Like, homie, that is a long time.
It's a long time to
even
wait.
60 days would be too long.
Exactly.
I think 30 is a happy little medium where we call, agree, where it would actually work. And so, I mean, why not?
I'd vote for it.
Right? Yeah, me too. It was in the proposed rules. We'll see what happens. They've yet to post those official rules, so they're not active at all. So we don't even know what's going to happen. And I have no clue, even if the new rules are going to get put out with this administration, because election years this year, we're going to get a new administration next year. So I have a feeling if it doesn't come out this year, it's not going to come out to the next administration next year.
Yay. Probably.
Yeah, and let's hope. Let's hope we get someone cannabis friendly.
Which is another reason why we really need more people to be signing up for the medical program, because it's literally a use it or lose it.
Yeah.
There's over 30 different things in New Mexico alone that qualify underneath it, which as a patient, I'm like, cool, that's pretty broad, but also I'm like, cool, that's pretty broad. So that means that other people that may be using other alternatives can try something that might be more effective.
Yeah.
So we need more people in the medical program.
And doctors are allowed to blanket stuff as well too. So like an example is, and they've expanded more on this, and this is back in the day, PTSD. They didn't have something directly for depression, but what you could do is you can blanket it under PTSD. It's like I have depression. I don't have PTSD, but they're blanking it under PTSD because it is a symptom of. Same thing with cancer. It didn't just matter a specific cancer. As long as you had any kind of cancer, you qualify.
Right.
And even I think I've talked about this on the show a couple years ago. The female orgasmic disorder that was added kind of recently. In the past couple of years, and I thought that was amazing. So if you're someone who deals with that, talk to your doctor and see if that would be a great fit for you for cannabis, because I know certain cultivars can make people very spicy.
I love that.
Yeah. So we'll save that for a different conversation. But yeah, there's certain cultivars that do that and everything, and it's really up to the patient. So you also brought some really great stuff that I think other people don't really realize is there. I'll share it sometimes, but I don't think they know exactly where I got it from.
Yeah.
And so the Department of Health actually has a lot of great educational documents, papers, breakdowns. That's actually how I learned how the units work, was through them. They actually figured out how to explain it to us. And so they have all that now. If you want to go ahead and share some of these pages.
These are all accessible, and I'll read it so it's right. It's going to be at the website of mcp.doh.nm.gov. But if Google does its thing like it does, you can usually just put in New Mexico CCD, and it'll take you to their main website, and then you'll see Cannabis Lounge. And it's basically just a bunch of different pamphlets with knowledge about units. There's even stuff in there about the packaging for your packages that your dispensaries are using, and the standards that they're requiring of these places, which is great. We love standards.
And this is great for operators too.
This is great for anybody, honestly. I always encourage fellow bud tenders to keep trying to learn new things. They always try to update stuff. That's where I learned about the pet stuff. There's a whole flyer about pets on there. They even have some flyers in Spanish, you guys. They're amazing.
What was the website again?
That's going to be mcp.doh.nm.gov.
Cool. I'm glad you said that twice, so that people, if they heard.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And this is great stuff. This is stuff. I think they even have keeping cannabis away from your kids kind of stuff too on there.
They have what to do when you're traveling with your cannabis, keeping it away from your kids. It has how to deal with it with insomnia, multiple different. I mean, the knowledge is vast just on this website alone. I know there's other ones. Like I went and got a certification for my medical cannabis a long time ago.
Yeah.
This one I want to say might have been from Learn Brands. Oh no, Seedcrest.
Oh yeah, from Shannon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So like there are so many different ways to keep yourself informed, but the fact that New Mexico itself has like really tried to inform people and have access for anybody is great. You can even find the breakdown of the inspections that we have, whether it's for the farms or for your retail.
Yeah.
And that's accessible to everybody. So if you're just curious what standards your dispensary is being held to, by all means, go to that website, check it out. And that's what we're being held to.
Yeah, 100%. And this is great information, especially for the operators, like I said. Like this one right here. So the state is going to start cracking down on packaging and labeling and stuff. So this right here is going to save your ass. And there's going to be people out there who's going to charge you to look at it and stuff. You can do it for free. You don't have to pay anybody. It's all right here. And this is actually very detailed. And I like how detailed this is. It has pointing out on, what it is. And on the side, it tells you what it is on what it is means on the side and everything. I couldn't get that out. And all the nutritional facts that are on there. Even the THC logo. This one right here was kind of controversial in New Mexico because you had some companies that were putting NM under the THC, and that actually isn't allowed here in New Mexico. You have to actually just have the THC. And don't get me wrong, it was cool. Like, I thought it looked better, but that's just not the way the law works. And having something like this, a visual, will make sure that you don't fuck up.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to mess things up and everything. So
they're even warning about Delta 8s and stuff like that and man-made weed. Again, it's keeping up on the knowledge that we're having available to us now. I know especially super close to Texas and stuff like that, or even just with these smoke shops I went to some smoke shops up on 70 and they're like, yeah, we're selling weed. And I'm like, oh, here's my ID. They're like, no, we're good. I'm like, here's my med card. They're like, no, we're good. I'm like, what are you selling here?
Do you even have the testing results?
Yeah, no, nothing at all. But it's because they have just Delta 8 products and they can sell those. And so, they're just, again, it's all about trying to keep yourself informed and aware of these things because unfortunately not everybody's out there trying to medicate as they are to make a buck.
Yeah, 100%. And actually yesterday I had to remind, and some people already know this, yesterday started the flower ban in Texas, which means we're going to see an influx of Texas patients coming to New Mexico, be it rec cells or reciprocity cells. It's going to be a cha-ching kind of situation. Yeah. But I try to tell everybody, don't forget that these are actual patients, not just money signs.
Yes.
Take care of them. They're going to spend money with you, but take care of them.
Even more so to them because they're going back to Texas.
Yeah,
They might even be taking some of that medicine with them and they might change somebody's minds that never thought about that in the first place.
Exactly.
So yes, by all means on that one. Sorry.
No.
Made me really happy. I'm like, information.
She's like that crazy wrestler. It's like patience.
Yes, I'm about it. I'm here for it all day.
I'm glad to hear, because something needs to be about the patients because, the program is struggling right now. And it's something that, is unfortunate. Luckily, we strengthened the law so that way legally, it's protected. But once the numbers start dwindling lower and lower and lower, that might change legislatively, and funding may change too. And we don't want that. And another confusing thing that's happening is the DOH is, they combine psilocybin with the medical cannabis program now. So they're both.
Yes.
And so that's caused a lot of issues right now with the website, with reciprocity patients too. They're having a lot of issues, inputting all that information. And if you guys don't know, if you're a patient from another state and you come here, you can use our medical cannabis program, but the dispensary has to know how to input your information into the system because you do get an official card here in New Mexico. I think it's just printed out.
Yeah.
And you do have units. you don't have access to how much units you have, which is unfortunate.
Weird.
I told the DOH about that, and you know, they're aware, and they
They're like,
agree.
it's up to you to take note of it.
I was gonna say there's literally a thing that says it is up to you to keep track of your units if you're a reciprocity.
And as we know, there's a mathematical equation.
Right. Yeah, how easy that is.
Yeah, and math ain't our best suit sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I appreciate y'all bringing this topic up because our medical cannabis program is so important. We wouldn't have a rec program without our medical cannabis patients, you know, without, you know, Essie, who was one of the very first patients, you know, who found relief in this. And actually Lynn and Aaron, the name of the law is named after those patients, you know, and that's something that we have to remember. You know, the Essie Awards is named after a person. It's just not named the Essies for no reason.
Right.
You know, it's named after one of the first patients. She was an AIDS patient. She found cannabis relief, and she was a huge advocate. And is one of the main reasons why we have, you know, a medical cannabis program in the first place is people like her.
Right.
And so we can't forget people like that by ruining our program, because you see it in every other state, Colorado, Washington. I actually have some friends in Washington, and I ask them about the medical cannabis program there, and it's like non-existent. You know, there's like, they pay taxes, you know, they're, you know, scrutinized for this and that. There's really no, and it makes sense. There's no reason in those states to have a medical cannabis program, but not New Mexico.
Right.
There's so many reasons why you should have no taxes is the biggest one. You know, stronger edibles. You also get cheaper prices sometimes too. Some people also not just, you know, knock off the tax like they're supposed to. They'll also give you a cheaper price. They'll give you a medical price,
Right.
you know, versus the rec too. So you're saving even more money on top of it. So, and even events sometimes. There's certain events where you'll either get it half off or free entry into the
There's
event.
a lot of times that it literally elevates you. Like if you're wanting to talk about being like a badass in the week, have your card.
Yeah.
Because that'll get you a higher level of not importance, but if you're in a huge dispensary and it's you know, there's a bunch of people, there's a good chance they're going to go, who's medical? And you get to go, me, and you get to bypass everybody.
Thank you for mentioning that, because in 2022, when I ran a different podcast, that was one of the first questions I asked when, you know, we first started Adult Sales is, because I thought of that. I said, what are you guys going to do about the patients? Like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're going to have everybody fighting to get into the doors, but you have these medical cannabis patients that have been here the whole time.
Right.
What are you guys going to do to ensure that they're being seen first? Are you guys going to have a different line? Someone told me, like, you know what? I didn't even think of that. Now I am going to implement a patient line separately so we don't run into that. So thank you. And like, I'm glad, but these days you really don't run into that, but I'm glad that people still keep that in mind. It's like, oh, we're busy. Who's a patient?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you front of the line.
Oh, yeah.
For a little bit here in Cruces, some of the dispensaries did do that. They had separate lines. And I remember standing in them like, this is weird. Like, had a total different line to be in. It's like,
like, this is what it feels like to be in Disneyland and have that fast pass. Right?
Exactly. 100%. Like, you saw this huge line, you're like, oh, medical line, sure. Losers.
I did have to pay
taxes.
Right? Yeah. I did have to pay $600 this time for it. Thank you. That's the other thing. All these people, I'm like, you guys, it's affordable. Sometimes it's even free.
Yes.
You know, I've seen it as low as $45, maybe 60. And I get it. People have to make their money, but like literally there are programs that you can get your medical card for free.
Oh, I want to make an official plea to providers out there.
Please.
So one of the biggest things that I hear, two of the biggest things that I hear when I'm talking to people and I mention the medical card, the medical program, whatever, and they are not one, the first thing that they ask me is, where can I go to get one? And I got news for you guys. Most of these people do not want to do telemed appointments and stuff to get their med cards, okay? Do not want to do that. They want to walk into a place, preferably a dispensary usually, because it's where they're going for it anyways. They want to walk into a dispensary. They want to talk to somebody. They want to ask the questions. They don't want to sit on a telemed thing. They want to see somebody in person. Furthermore, the other thing that I hear is, well, I went and saw a provider and then, you know, they said, yeah, you know, it'll be, you know, such and such time a week, blah, blah, whatever. And I never heard anything from them again. And 9 times out of 10, it's probably because they didn't know that they had to log into their own account and accept things and, you know, click on stuff and sign things or whatever. They don't know this thing. So you know what they tell me? I think I just got scammed.
Yep.
Wow.
And then they don't want to do it anymore.
and then they don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, and their card is like sitting in limbo.
I had a couple because when they first changed it, my doctor, she just didn't know the process because it changed, and I had a couple just sitting there in limbo too for a couple of years. They're still there.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, well, they get an email." Most people don't live in their emails. Most people don't even check their emails. That's a thing that they put in to websites so that they can get access to their 10% off discount or whatever, and they never check them things.
Yeah.
So yeah, the odds that they even know that they're getting an email are slim to none, unless you're telling them, guys. They don't know because nobody is telling them.
Yeah.
And they don't know that they need to ask these things, and no one is following up with them. These telemed appointments, no one's following up with their patients and letting them know, hey, have you gone and, found this email and done the things on your end to make sure your card goes through? No, they're not. Nobody's doing that. Please, we need more explanations, more clarity about the program, and God bless, more providers showing up in public to see people face to face. A lot of these people are elderly and they don't want to do anything on the phone. That's another newfangled bullshit thing that they don't want to do. And I get it, because same, I don't want to do that either.
Yeah.
I would much rather go and sit in front of a person, and I used to be able to, but I don't, I still get mine for PTSD, and I still would prefer to just see, a provider.
Yeah.
I'm a small business person. Let's be real, right? Let me support a provider. I really hate having to give, $75 to $100 to LeafWell because I don't know who's offering med cards right now, and I can't find anybody. Like, it's a problem, and I think one of the biggest problems of why our medical program is declining so hard is because the providers has just kind of stepped back and went, well, I'll take phone calls. Well, I'll. And nobody's getting that active kind of
Moreover,
walk through.
I offer up our space. I'm definitely, if anybody's willing to come into our dispensary and set up, I'm happy to set appointment times for you. Let's make a date. If you're got the time, I've got the space. Like I said, whatever I can do to help. We're just trying to get more people signed up, and I can't find anybody to come and do it.
Those are really great points, because even myself, for the longest time, like, why is this happening? It's bottleneck at the very beginning. It's you can't even get past the idea of wanting to get your card because you can't find somewhere to get it.
Yes.
And that would deter me, indefinitely, sometime, I'm sure some people don't ever want to deal with it again because they didn't want to go through that bureaucratic bullshit.
Yeah.
And I hate bureauccy too. I don't blame
people
you.
that smoke weed don't like bureaucracy.
Terrible.
We love somebody to hold our hand through the process.
Yes.
And the older the patient is, the more that's going to hold true. So, I definitely think that the lack of actual providers out in the community doing the things, we definitely need to be making more contact to the ones that are out there doing it, but we're having a hard time just finding them. So
and New Mexico has a short of doctors as is in providers in general.
Yeah.
And the legislature just did pass that bill that hopefully will help. I hope to God it helps.
Oh my goodness.
I don't care what party you are on it. I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Because we need medical help here bad. And maybe that will fill that void for us and improve our medical program as well. I tell these people all the time, not everything in the legislature is going to affect cannabis, but sometimes, even if it doesn't mention cannabis, it will.
It'll affect it.
It'll affect it. Yeah. And this is one of those times where, this could be a positive for the medical cannabis program. And I hope to God.
Yeah.
And luckily, I have a very good provider when I do renew. She does the whole medical thing, checks my good stuff. I even found out what I was allergic to, due to her and everything. So, she's a really great provider. And I wish everybody had the same kind of provider. And they do accept insurance a lot of the times here in New Mexico too. So if you can't afford it and you have Medicaid will take care of it. It's a doctor visit. You're not paying for cannabis at all. So that's why you can use insurance, because it is just a straight up doctor visit and they're just doing paperwork for you.
Yep.
And that's it. So, and the card is free through the state. And that's another reason why is the state doesn't charge you. They used to charge you for the PPL, but they don't do that anymore. Thank God. Another $15 scam.
Right.
So I appreciate y'all bringing that up, because these are all really great points and topics that we need to bring up. And we do need to, be more vocal about our medical cannabis program because it's dwindling, like 63,000 patients from like 140 or whatever. That's a huge chunk just dropping every year, So we'll see what happens in the future with it. And I hope those of you watching, if you're curious about the medical cannabis program, hit me up. I'll help you out. Hit these ladies up. They're on Instagram too. And I'll give them opportunity to tell you guys their Instagrams and everything at the end of the show. So that way you guys can, or wherever you can go to, get your answers or your questions answered. But yeah, our medical cannabis program is so important. There's so many people that use it. And I say this all the time too. You said it earlier, just differently. Every use in cannabis is medical. The guy getting off of work trying to relax, the mom trying to de-stress after a long day, the dude who has a headache or back hurts, whatever, medical. Yeah. It's mostly medical. If you're having fun with it, you're probably doing it medical too.
Yeah, whether you know it or not.
Yeah, and I like cannabis drinks. I love cannabis drinks.
Me too.
They're great, aren't they?
Oh, they're getting so good. Some of the drinks that are coming out are just...
I can't hang.
Chef's kiss.
I can't hang.
Absolutely.
No, I went to Astrobuzz and they have mocktails.
Oh, nice. Edibles just put me under.
The red beer is so good, dude. You can get 2 or 5 milligrams, or 2.5 or 5 milligrams, so very low, but it's nano emulsified. So,
dude, I'm like, this is awesome.
I love it.
Instantly, but I mean, weed, blunts all day. Yeah, no, exactly. I'm like, I can smoke, but edibles, I get real hungry and then I pass out. But that's just my system.
Exactly.
So,
everybody's is different.
Everybody's is different. The magic of weed.
100%. Yes, I agree. And, and I say this all the time and I'll say it again, of course, some people don't agree with me. I think in the future, in about 10 years, drinks will take over as the #1 consumption method.
They're even just at like Circle K's now and at Walmart. It's happening.
Easy.
Everywhere. Yeah.
We just took on a new line ourselves.
Yeah. So, why not? I might go buy some.
Come on down.
Yeah, I like lemonade. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for this talk on the medical cannabis program. We have one more topic to talk about, but is there anything else you want to mention that I may have forgot?
Just reminding people that like the best way to stick it to the government is buying legal weed and not paying tax on it. Like
they're not going to keep helping us not pay taxes.
Yeah,
come on, we gotta keep this up ourselves.
Yeah,
exactly. They don't want us to keep getting over on them. So keep getting over on them.
Yeah.
No.
And you'll find having a medical cannabis card is great, actually. Like every time I go to the dispensary, they ask me if I have a medical cannabis card, which is cool. Yeah. I love the fact that they ask. Sometimes I forget. I'm like, oh yeah, here. And then there goes my tax. There's 20,
exactly.
Now almost 22%.
And it'll still keep going up until 2030, where it's the ultimate price of 18%, guys. So you'll be paying just as much for your weed as you already need.
And when you add gratuity to it, it's close to 30.
There you go.
So, you're going to be saving a lot.
Don't forget gratuity.
Oh, God, yeah. You have to add. That's
Tip
why.
your bartenders.
Yes, please do. Gratuity. They're doing a great service for you guys. And I always try to make sure that I tip my bud tenders, especially if they've been very knowledgeable. And if you teach me some shit I never knew, I might give you $10.
Exactly. And if you can come teach me something, then I'll probably give you a free pre-roll. I'll be like, thanks for teaching me, brother.
Yeah, there you go.
Pre-roll.
Yes.
Pre-roll,
yeah.
Pre-rolls for education.
Pre-rolls for education. I mean, ours are all flower.
Yeah. Yeah, so check out Ep11, guys, if you ever got a chance.
By the way.
Right, free plug for you guys. So anyway, we're going to move on to the last topic, and this one's going to be a little bit shorter, but I've been keeping you guys updated on this, so I figured I would kind of give you the update of how it's going. So Germany legalized cannabis a couple of years ago, which is great, but they've had a medical cannabis program for 10, 15 years or something like that. And that's a federal legalized program. So it's the nation, has it, which was cool. I lived in Germany very briefly, and in Alamogordo, we actually had a lot of Germans that were stationed there for many years. So I have a lot of friends that are German, live in Germany now, some live here, whatever. So I love the German people and culture, and, it's always been interesting. And also they've always had a unique way of going about things. Their people are very to the rule and law for the most part. So whenever the German government says something, they usually go by that. And, unlike Americans, we're like, we're going to break it first. We're going to test this. I can't, huh? So Germans, for the most part, usually aren't like that. Don't get me wrong, there's some that are very rebellious. But for the most part, they do follow the rules and laws, but they have a little bit more freedoms, like the Autobahn. The Autobahn was cool. And the weird thing about the Autobahn is there's only certain parts of it that don't have a speed limit. So that's a misconception. People think the Autobahn, no speed limit whatsoever. No, there actually is speed limits certain parts. which makes sense because those parts are unsafe to drive very, very fast. So it makes sense why only certain parts of the Autobahn have no speed limit. But man, when you get to that no speed limit, Tom, man, that's fun. That is fun. You can just, boom, 100-something miles an hour, no one cares.
Hard pass, but I'm glad you got to it.
It was, I was in my 20s, so yeah, it was a good time. My buddy at the time, he was in the Air Force, and he was stationed there, and, I was contracting, and he had a bike. He said, fastest I went was 180. I was like, you are crazy. I was like, oh my God. He said, when you run that fast, the dotted lines, they turn into just one line. And I was like, well, I would figure.
Yeah. You're looking at heaven. That's what it is.
Yeah, and then one time he was going over 100 and he wrecked and luckily just fell off, and into the grass, so he survived. But oh man, so yeah. Germans have a different way of doing things sometimes, and it always interests me. And that was no different about cannabis. So the way they went about cannabis is they didn't do it at all like we did here in the States. Even the most restrictive state did it a little bit different than Germany. I was like, oh, Texas did it. Texas did do different. But Germany, the way they did it is they pretty much have cannabis clubs that you go to, and they're like nonprofit grows, and you can grow at home. I think you're allowed 3 or 4 plants or something like that. But they have these clubs, and they're not dispensaries. They're like a private club, like like an Elks. You go, you pay your whatever fee, and you can get your weed, you take it, and that's where I want to say that's where some of their cannabis sales are coming from. Actually, only 3% of those cannabis sales are coming from those spots. So they're saying that the traditional market is losing some sales, but it's not going away as fast as it probably should because of this. And for the fact that people are growing at home at a higher rate in Germany for the fact that there's nowhere to buy it.
Right.
Like you have to be a part of a club. Some people may not be able to afford that, or maybe they don't want to, and by all means, I think cannabis should be as available as alcohol is. In Germany, the drinking age is 16,
right.
And the smoking age is 18. And if you're 15, your parents can buy you beer at a restaurant. Well, when I lived there were kids at the bar sitting there with us that were like 10, 11 years old, 12, drinking beer, stronger beer than us, and just like looking at us like we're the freaking... Yeah.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, he has to hold 2 hands.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
So one of the things that they were talking about, and this is a report from the government, it looks like, most of the people in Germany are kind of split on how it's going there. They're like, oh, the kids are getting it, it's becoming an issue. And I'm like, bro, kids have been getting drugs in your country for a very long time. Like, you allow them to drink at 16s. My friends parents got stationed in Germany when we were in high school. When we were 16, they were at the club partying, drinking, having a good time because that's legal there. And no one could say shit to them. My best friend, Cindy, she's been partying since we were in high school. And that was the norm for her, because she moved to Germany when we were 16. And I'll talk to her, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm about to go out, different time zones and stuff. I'm like, what do you mean go out? She's like, go to the club. I was like, is it like a teen club? We had teen clubs growing up. We didn't have like club clubs. She's like, no, you can drink at 16 here. I was like, what?
Girl, it's Tuesday also.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah. And so the fact that they even mentioned that blew my mind. I was like, no. You guys are just scapegoating cannabis now again. And this is proof because you allow children to consume alcohol and tobacco in your country, but yet cannabis is the issue now and you have to be 18 in Germany to consume cannabis.
Interesting.
It's even older than alcohol. So I'm just like, alcohol has been a stain on most societies. Don't get me wrong. You guys are a little bit better at it than we are, in holding your liquor. Because like even the alcoholics there aren't as bad as our alcoholics.
Oh yeah.
Like I remember there's this dude, because we'd walk around our little villages. There was this like alcoholic dude. All he would do was sit in front of the gas station and just drink his beer. And that's it. And he wouldn't bother anybody, but he could tell he was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And he had a problem, but he didn't bother anyone. When he went home, did he? I don't know. But for the most part, I could tell even when I go to the clubs, I'm like, man, they're totally different than we are when it comes to substances. Like it seems like it's respected a little bit more. But for some reason, when it comes to cannabis, they're like, no, 9.
That's everywhere.
Yeah.
That's just the general. I mean, even here, it's been legal 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
And I still have patients that are like, they'll come in with somebody or just people that are walking in with my patients, and they're like, no, I don't smoke. And I'm like, do you drink? And they're like, well, yeah. And I'm like, so we've all got our medicines, we've all got our vices, what works for you doesn't work for them, vice versa, but this stigma of, oh no, cannabis is worse. I'm like, I've seen multiple people, my own family included, ruin their lives in alcohol.
Yeah,
I
me
ain't
too.
seen not a stoner friend. I mean, the worst I see is them just like kind of burnt people, but they're totally happy with their lives and where they're at. So I don't know who's losing there. So,
it's his life.
He's just like, yeah, man, I've been working here for like 30 years and I love it. And I'm like, go on, brother, you do that.
As long as you're happy.
Yeah,
Like, if you're happy with this life, by all means.
Exactly.
Man,
then you're winning. But literally, my own family, my own father's played with alcoholism, and he chose his choice.
Mm-hmm.
We all, as that's the fun part of being, having freedom is you make your choices, and I just don't see any benefits in alcohol.
Yeah. I watched my grandfather pretty much drink himself to death too. So and the reason why he lost his leg, and the reason why he lost it is because he was an alcoholic.
Right.
He was out. He got home from the bar. It was raining. He slipped, broke his leg, and no one found him till morning.
Oh,
and he was already like
goodness.
70 years old, 68 years old. And so no one found him till morning. Actually, we didn't even know it happened. Someone driving by found him.
Goodness.
And I don't know why he couldn't yell or whatever, but he ended up losing his leg.
Probably inebriated.
Yeah,
you know?
drunk.
Probably sleep.
He probably passed out.
Yeah, he probably passed out, and he didn't even know something was.
Yeah.
The only thing that happens to stoners, I see they get sober real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Dang it, now I'm not high. I'm like, oh, okay, well.
Yeah, but the reason why he lost his leg, too drunk.
Yeah.
He broke his leg.
I know many a story like that, but very rarely.
Yeah, for sure. And so it's unfortunate that, we're seeing this kind of reporting coming from Germany. But I do think that because Bavaria doesn't allow these kind of lounges and stuff to happen. Right. So they allow local jurisdictions to opt out, which I think is a mistake because you end up, especially when it's a new industry. If this was an old industry, been here 100 years, then okay, maybe. But even then, I'm still like, whatever. No, I don't like it. But, it's more understanding. But when it's a new industry, when you do that, the traditional market just takes over because you're never going to eliminate the traditional market. I keep wanting to say black market. It's a little easier to say than the traditional market. Traditional market. You're going to shrink it, and it's not being shrunk in areas like Bavaria or common. One I like to use is California and Colorado. Certain areas of that state ran by the traditional market. Yeah. It's just night and day, no shop in sight because they didn't allow it. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening in Germany. You have very restrictive places where to buy it, where to get it. And then you have places also being restrictive on just it in general. Mm. And so you end up with this wonky kind of, this one place has it, but this not place has it. So you have to actually go to this place to get it. But if you don't want to get it, you just hit up your plug. Right. And what are most people going to do? Hit up the plug. I know I would. I can't blame them. I can't blame them. And so it's unfortunate to see this, and hopefully the advocates in Germany figure it out, because I even have a friend who's living there now, and I put her on a secret mission and everything to kind of figure out how those are going. But that was 2 years ago, and at first it seemed like it was going all right. But now we're starting to see some cracks form into the concrete, and it didn't look like things were cured out very well. Mm. And so that's going to happen, and I hope they can, redirect and fix it. But I think the only way they're going to fix it at this point is if they just make cannabis as available as they have alcohol in Germany. Right. That's the only way they're going to fix it. And to be honest, I think they can do it. I think Germany is progressive enough and they're smart enough. When it comes to stuff like that. Yeah, they're smart enough.
Gotta actually take it in.
To actually do it. They're a very smart, community of people, and I think they can figure it out. But I think the way that they went about it, it was a good try. They did want to focus on educating people first before moving on. It didn't necessarily work that way, so I think now they need to shift into now, okay, we need to educate people still, but now we need to open this up because if not, traditional market's going to take over. So, with that being said, what's your guys' final thoughts on all this?
I would agree with that. Honestly, we did kind of we saw that happen here between the medical to the recreational. Yeah. Man, there was still a traditional market all over the place when it was medical, but it was less. Yeah. And then, as soon as, recreational started, the traditional market, it's not gone. No. It'll never be gone, right? But it changed, and it also got a lot smaller. Like, if I had to find a plug right now,
I couldn't tell you.
I couldn't tell you. Yeah, I don't know any plugs anymore. I go down the street to the dispensary.
Yeah, I don't have to. I grow it. I go to the dispensary.
Exactly.
I wish I could grow weed.
Everybody can grow weed.
Everybody can grow weed. It is tricky, and it's not easy to grow good weed all the time.
There we go.
But you know, it is doable. It is doable.
Yeah,
so
definitely. So what's your final thoughts on this?
I kind of similar to what Michelle says, you know, but I also feel like you got to break a few eggs to get the full information of it.
Yeah.
Hopefully they learn from it. We're still learning. So
No one's done this right yet.
That's kind of where I was going to go with that is I'm like, you know, it'd be really cool if we could just build the THC coalition of the, you know, world and all get together and take in insights, but I'm not sure that's happening. So more power to somebody else if they can figure it out to do it better. But I just hope that
we'll get it right eventually. Somebody will get it right eventually.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Because you can't get it wrong forever.
No.
Surely, I mean, surely. But if anything, at least it goes down to individual education. You know, hopefully that if the government's not providing information, like you say, the advocates that are out there are trying to do that, like how we're trying to do the legwork ourselves too.
Yeah.
So I think that's just the most important part. Educate yourselves.
100%. I agree. And with that being said, we'll end the episode there today. So thank you so much, ladies, for joining me today. It was a great episode. And, you know, I'm glad the nerves shook off.
Maybe could have used more, but in less time. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's an important conversation. So.
It is 100%. And I appreciate y'all bringing up the medical thing. And, you know, I'm glad that y'all came on the show to help me because it's usually just me sounding like the angry old man, like, oh, damn it, the patient numbers are down again.
Oh, I know, and I feel the same way because we're doing it the same thing.
All the time.
We're like, our medical program's going away.
Yeah. And you don't know what you got
people
till it's
all
gone.
the time, like, get your med cards. It's worth it. Get your med cards. It's worth it. I promise it'll pay for itself.
And with taxes going up, you guys are going to want to get your medical cannabis card. It's going up like 2 months.
Food for thought, I literally have patients coming from other legal states like Arizona, Colorado, and they're like, your guys' stuff is bomb and your program is awesome. So like, keep that in mind, guys. The grass isn't greener other places. It's actually greenest in New Mexico, like our green chili.
Yeah, and I actually explore other states' markets and industries on purpose. So I can see if someone's doing it better than us because I want to implement something you're doing if it works here. And I haven't really found it. I think we did a really good job of looking at what other places did. Don't get me wrong, us advocates, we've helped with that.
Yes,
you know, that was actually the huge part is the advocacy work that we did. All the advocates, Ken included.
Yes.
We all did a really amazing job making sure that they knew exactly how this needed to work because we studied other states. We looked at what worked and what didn't work. And we have what we have now. Don't get me wrong, it's not perfect. And we still have a lot to fix and work on, but I think we're on the right track. You know, we're not on a different train. We're on the right track.
Yeah, and we have a track.
Exactly. That's the difference.
We have a track.
Yeah, exactly. Some states don't even have that.
Yeah, so like, get on that train. You know?
So again, ladies, thank you so much again.
Thank you,
I'll look forward to having you on again and we can talk about medical cannabis. And hopefully the next time we talk about it, it's because the numbers are going up.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Come see us at Yucca Point, guys.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you guys. I'll see y'all next week for another episode of Ask Chad Grassy Logic with some more topics. I'll see y'all. Shoots.